It's going on YouTube. It's going on Twitch. Welcome, everybody. Oh, let me start. Yeah, no, we're good. Welcome to Horsin Around, a dumbass cast. Another very special episode that we like to do every year of best and worst movies of the year. Is any of this getting picked up? It is. Can you guys say something just to make sure?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just making.
Not that bad.
Okay, we'll get to that. We're gonna get to that. All right, we're talking the best and worst movies. We are gonna start with the worst movies. And we each picked one of our favorite movies of the year and one of our pick for worst of the year. We'll start off with myself. Hi, I'm Nick. In case you guys forgot who I was. And my worst pick of the year was Venom: The Last Dance. And I think just to give the quick elevator pitch for why I put it in as my worst of the year, from what I remembered, because I did not actually watch this to catch up for this. I could only sit through one viewing of this in the theaters. It just kind of felt like the most fucking car wreck culmination. And the other problem is that I didn't get a chance to see Craven, and I'm curious if Craven is even more in this vein than Venom: The Last Dance was, but it feels like the most car wreck culmination of everything that Avi Arad has been trying to set up with this fucking Sonyverse shit. I don't know. I think a lot of people could make the argument that Madam Web is a worse movie, but it didn't really. It just felt kind of boringly bad. But this was fantastically bad in a way that just hit me so different compared to Madam Web. And yeah, I don't know. I am very interested to hear what you guys thought from having watched it last night.
I mean, I definitely think Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No. You first.
All right. Wow, we're so polite.
Red carpet.
I definitely think Madam Web's a more interesting movie.
Really? Okay.
I love Dakota Johnson. I think she's an underrated actor who gets put into movies that are unjustly bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't look, when she brings it, and I really appreciate that. And Madam Web is just this weird amalgamation of so
yeah.
I get it. We had a bunch of famous actors, up and coming actors, and we kind of put them in with someone who's already kind of up and come a little bit in Dakota Johnson. But then the rest of the movie, they didn't come up with an idea for the rest of it, and they're just the Amazon, my mom,
all of the ADR,
and because it has so less of a thought, it makes it more iconic, because you're just sitting there and you're like, I
don't know if this
why is she at this baby shower? What's going on? I don't get it.
I would contest that this movie also has no thoughts going on whatsoever, because you reminded me. I had forgot that this movie starts with your new favorite character that you are now Nullheads.
No.
Yeah. It's
the Codex. Codex.
They come up with a guy that and for more context for the audience, neither of these two have seen both of the previous Venom movies, and I can tell you don't need to see either of them. Both of you have seen at least one of them, but not both. But it doesn't matter, because they introduce a villain.
I appreciate that, to be honest.
That is,
it started. I was like, thank God, it does not care about whatever the fuck happened in the last movie at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. So it starts with a new character that they've never talked about before, and they're setting him up like he's a fucking Thanos level threat. It's Null.
Everyone knows who Null is.
Everyone knows who Null is, and he is gonna be the next Thanos. And that's the thing, is the way they framed it all as this is going to be the big thing for
You're forgetting about the other character they introduced, though. The bartender. From the
yes,
Venomverse.
right.
When they arrested him.
Yes,
he was in the after credit scene. He's canon.
He is canon. He's canon to lore. He's got a big role coming up.
Don't forget about the other important character who they introduced. Girl whose brother died by lightning.
Yes. And then I think she's supposed to be
Was that Christmas
Korean?
Tree Lady? Was Christmas
No, that's
Tree?
Christmas. I don't
No,
remember her name.
Right,
Her name is
okay, but her
Christmas.
name is Christmas. Yes.
I do think it is funny that there are 2 people from Ted Lasso in this movie. Inexplicably. It's very funny.
You know.
I'm just like, oh, hey.
Yeah, and like but they introduce this fucking like Thanos level threat that then they never do anything with. They just send out CGI monsters through portals.
Well, he's like in prison, Nick. He's,
No,
he's,
yeah, he's in prison. Sorry.
Don't get me started on them. Do not.
What? What do you didn't you love them as like
they are
CGI monsters?
It's like they're so conveniently overpowered and then underpowered at the same time. It's so dumb. It's like they can regenerate, so why even fight them? But
Yeah.
sometimes they just die and then stop regenerating. Also, Noah has like an army of them, so why is he only sending 1 and 2?
Well,
Also, they have a move that literally just destroys the symbiotes, and they just don't use it whenever they like get. When Venom fucking sucks 3 of them in, they're like,
because they respect Venom, all right? They respect the bond that Venom has with Eddie Brock, okay? They understand.
He's not even bonded at that point. He's not even.
They understand that it's their last
using the power
dance.
to break the bond.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. That was. Oh my god! And also that being a plot element that they couldn't. He had to not be Venom for significant periods of time.
Well, you can kind of be Venom. You just can't be full Venom.
Yeah. You can do like.
Something they don't. I almost appreciate to the extent. See, this is kind of what I'm talking about. This goes like to the stuff we were talking about, Madam Web, which is like when this movie has less of an idea of what movie it is, it's so much more fun and entertaining. And as soon as the actual movie kicks in, I'm like, I don't care. Guys, I don't care. I don't care about the superhero movie that you keep trying to put in this like weird buddy road trip movie.
Yeah, it wants to be so many different things, and like it ends up being none of them.
We gotta go into why we like this movie more.
Okay, sure.
I think the heart of the argument is basically where Jacob comes in and says when it's not the Venom movie, it's kind of like a fun and interesting. Okay, I'm just gonna say fun. I think it's just a fun movie because like I think like in my review I posted on Letterboxd, it's like there's 3 movies in here like literally crammed in.
Yeah.
I think there's like a Where Are the Millers family aspect where you're just like to see aliens. There's a fucking hangover. We're in Vegas. It's time to gamble and dance with the Asian lady.
Yeah, the Asian grandma.
There's a Venom movie, and the Venom movie doesn't work. The Where Are the Millers movie is just random enough to kind of work and be funny because it just doesn't fit in there. And then it got gambling in it. Gotta give it points. He gambled and lost all his money. I just really enjoyed the Vegas.
I would argue that none of it works. It works as like a spectacle of what not to do, but I don't know if I think any of those like the road trip thing, because like the Last Dance being the thing is like they were
so bad.
They were trying to like
why was Area 51 being decommissioned?
It's important. No. This is important. We have to have multiple sidebars for this discussion. We have to have the main plot sidebar. We have to have the Area 51 is getting decommissioned, and then the Family Vegas sidebar. Okay, we got to silo these off because that's how the movie does it. The movie forgets about all these things, and then at the end is like, they're all here together. We have to put them together because that's how a movie works.
Like, also the family couldn't wait 3 days. They were like, no, we gotta get there.
We gotta go.
We gotta break into.
That was the thing.
They wanted to see the aliens.
It was decommissioned.
Yeah, they wanted to see the aliens getting moved.
What were they gonna do to decommission it?
They were showing it.
They were like demolishing the base.
Thank you. Yes, Lul. It is insane. Literally. None of this. Yeah, Lul's in chat.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you know. This is like a live experience. It's a new format Nick created. Just
wait. Are we on Twitch?
Yeah, we're live. We are live right now. Can you believe it?
Also, again with the Area 51, why would they decommission Area 51 just to have a super secret base underneath it and then make the statement?
It's a cover. The decommissioning.
No human.
It's so that people stop investigating Area 51. They destroy the base Area 51.
They're literally gonna flock to Area 51 at that point. It's just been decommissioned. We gotta go. What do you mean?
As we all know, conspiracy theorists believe what the U.S. government tells them.
I also love the main through line for like, quote unquote main through line of Eddie like trying to get to New York because somehow
Yes.
him talking to a lawyer in New York is going to get the government agents off of his back.
He's talking to a judge. He's got dirt on a dirty judge
Oh
in New
yeah,
York
the
City.
dirty judge in New York
dirt on him.
City.
He's got dirt on him.
So like that's
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. You complain about that, but every time he brought up we got to get to New York, I was like, please let them get to New York. I want this so bad. I want this. Like genuinely in my mind, this movie is insanely fun. If it is just Eddie is in, like Baja, Mexico. I
Yeah.
can't remember where he starts. I think he starts in like more closer to the Yucatan and then goes up and then
Yeah.
west.
yeah.
But if
Well,
it
he
was
catches a
literally
flight,
just-
and then the CGI monster shows up.
It's true. Well, what are you gonna do?
Nick,
But like, if it was literally like, hey, we ended up because of this whole thing.
Mhm, because the
with the
MCU
flight,
decided to
we
throw
ended
us in
up-
and then spit us back out.
Yeah, we ended up in the desert in the American West.
Yep.
And because we got attacked by a monster, that's how we ended up there.
Yeah.
And we got to travel across the country without rousing suspicion, from going to the West Coast to the East Coast, dodging one symbiote hunter
one.
and the U.S. military. That'd be fun enough. Because why do I know that? Because I had a lot of fun whenever it was just like.
But Jacob,
Hey,
didn't you want to learn about the other symbiotes?
Chill out, dude.
Didn't you want to learn about the 5 other symbiotes they had underneath Area
Dedicate
50?
any time to that.
Symbiote family, woo!
Woo!
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the symbiote family gets killed 2 seconds after being introduced.
They're ass. They're ass.
They are.
Oh, I'm dead. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm dead.
they
Oh,
just-
okay.
They try to
I don't understand
do
why your score didn't go up. Because have you considered Venom Fish?
Venom
Frog?
Fish. Oh,
Venom
and
cockroach, Venom cockroach.
also
Venom
can we
cockroach.
can we do a quick
Cockroach.
shout out? They killed Scream, bro. They killed everybody. It was a massacre. I'm sorry, Lil. Nobody made it out of there.
We didn't even know their names. Christmas had like the better symbiote, also did nothing.
Yeah.
And for can we talk about how like the research personnel they just completely like do complete 180s so
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
They have like no character. One of them is just like science. The other one's just like, oh, science, but the world's ending. They should just doom her pills immediately. The general loses 3 men and then loses his mind. Is like, kill. We must kill now.
It's insane. It's so like every element feels like they're trying to do like a symbiote Avengers, but they want to they know
And then they kill the symbiote.
and then they kill everybody. They do it, and then they also get to Endgame. They go through Avengers 1 to Avengers Endgame in one movie. Like,
Here's my one defense for this. I don't give a shit about symbiote Avengers.
I don't either. They don't
And
do a
the
good
fact that
job.
the fact that they're like, oh, we should probably do like a symbiote Avengers, and then 2 seconds into that idea, they were like, get rid of this. This is over. We're done.
But it's
I'm
so
Thank
like
God
why
this is only 5 minutes.
like
of the
I
film.
do agree with you guys that the buddy cop road trip movie, because like that's the whole thing, is like the marketing was playing into how the previous movies were taken in as like gay icons or whatever for Venom and Eddie, of being like in a romantic relationship thing, and they were really
It's
playing into
called
that
The
for the
Last
market.
Dance.
It's called The Last Dance, and there is like
There's
little
only one dance.
there's only one
It's
dance,
fucked up.
which is fucked up.
It's not goodbye. Wait, hold on. It is goodbye. He's not gone forever. It's just goodbye.
Yeah, okay, it's just
Yeah,
goodbye,
yeah.
but like
Yeah,
it
just a
is.
little bit of Venom left.
There's like little bits of that, and like I think when those come up, there's like the flicker of something that I want to see there, but it's so just drenched in everything else that Avi Arad wants fucking Sonyverse to be, and like it's just, I don't know, that it just astounded me like how much dog shit they piled into that to like try and.
I don't know if it's Avi Arad doing it. I feel like it's Sony.
Yeah, I don't know if you
I
know
mean-
this. Avi Arad is a big producer. You're right. He probably has a lot of influence around these films. But
Yeah.
also, we can't
I mean-
can't do the Kathleen Kennedy bit again.
Is
Where
he-
we find one person to be
Okay,
mad at, where
sure.
It's like
There-
a
it's-
studio being like, yeah, let's
It's definitely
it's
it's
not
probably
Avi, like he's.
But he did- but he wasn't he the architect-
Approve all this.
I guess, but wasn't he the one that kind of tanked Spider-Man 3 because he kept giving Sam Raimi all the notes like
But
for
he's
Venom
also,
and
he's
shit?
also the guy. I mean, there
I'm
were
not- I don't
many
know.
producers who
Okay.
tank Spider-Man 3. He's also the guy who said we should. He was also the guy involved in making Spider-Man happen in the first place.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
fair.
the double-edged sword of Avi Arad, in which you're like, Spider-Man 1 comes out and you're like, you madman, you did it. And then the Amazing Spider-Man comes out and you're like, you madman, you fucked it up.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
that's
God.
fair. Yeah, I don't know. I want to give one last quick shout out to the end credits scene. You talked about Venom Fish, and that
Venom
was like,
cockroach.
and
Roach.
Venom Cockroach, Venom Roach, Venom Horse. But those were like 3 animals, and it's very clear that the creature designers or like whatever concept artists had so many more animals they wanted Venom to turn into because they just used the end credits to just show
I want
like
Venom grasshopper.
Venom Grasshopper, Venom Elephant, like
Venom
just
dog.
Venom Dog.
They
Yeah.
had a dog. The opportunity was there. Why
It
are
was
you
right
saying
there.
no?
It was literally
turn
right
that
there.
dog into a. He's guarding the van the whole time. He's got a job.
I will
Oh, yeah,
drag my
that was-
kids into this Area 51 base, but I will not bring my dog.
The
Don't bring
dog- Dog can't come in.
Based, I agree.
Yeah, I just think the mess that it was made it like I don't know more, and that's why I gave it the like because it was incredible to watch. I just could not.
I
I could not
be
fathom it.
honest. This movie doesn't work, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
That's
will
fair.
admit, I had more fun with this
Oh.
than I had with Venom 1. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, Nick.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
can't say that.
I
haven't seen
can't.
Venom 1.
I think I liked Venom 1. I think Venom 1 is a better than like is like a half decent movie, but I can understand watching this train wreck can be more entertaining than
When Venom, yes, exactly. It goes back to my original argument, which is like when Venom has less of an idea of how to be a movie, I like it. When it wants to be a movie, I don't like it. There is more movie in Venom 1. There is a
Yeah.
way less movie in Venom The Last
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah.
And so therefore I have a better time with Venom The Last Dance. Because
But there was more Venom and Tom Hardy being like a couple in Venom 1, and I liked that. That's the thing I liked about this whole series.
There is less of that than I think you
But
remember.
wasn't there Venom Kiss in Venom 1?
There was Venom Kiss
There
in
was
Venom 1 too.
Kiss, but that's when he was sexy lady Venom. A aspect I really didn't like about that movie.
Oh, I love that. Oh, sexy lady Venom. Let's go, monster fuckers. Yeah, but like,
I mean, look. When I got a problem with sexy monster on screen, that's when you know you fucked up. Okay, that's when it's. Well, I love me. You know,
Mhm.
a little bit of monster romance. I'll be
Uh-huh.
honest.
I mean, if
But
we're
when-
capping off The Last Dance, I'm gonna echo Jacob's sentiments that it's a very fun movie. You know, I think it's a little bit more fun than Madam Web with some of the things it does because it's just so stupid.
Yeah.
And I just love gambling, and I'm addicted. And every time I see someone gamble all their money away, it brings me joy.
Do you want to punch the slot machine like Venom did?
Last time I was in a casino, I did punch the slot machine.
Oh my god, you're literally Venom.
I was literally Venom. I was like,
Wow.
ooh, you fucking shark in the body. Ooh, I've done this before. And then, except I did win money though. I did.
Oh, okay.
Whoa. All right,
Better than
I
Venom.
have one last note of Venom: The Last Dance. I swear this is the last.
Yeah.
Nick, you kind of were talking about like a Venom: The Last Dance kind of feels like a culmination of the like Sony project for the most part, and I kind of agree with you on that. In that, I think the Sony movies, for me,
Suck.
are bad, but are proof that there is value in watching bad movies. Because what I will say, and this is kind of a culmination of the statements I've already made. So
Sure.
apologies if I'm being redundant.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
But a bad movie can contain sequences and ideas that are so iconic and silly and absurd that they're memorable and create a really fun movie going experience despite how the film itself doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I personally like about the Sony movies, even though some of them are insanely dull at times.
Yeah.
I remember more stupid fucking sequences. And being able to remember a movie does not equate to like quality or value or anything like that. I don't want to say that, but what I'm saying is that there is value in bad films, and I think the Sony movies perfectly capture that. Because when I'm 90, I'll be thinking about have sex,
That's
Harmonious, and I will not remember what the fuck happened in
in Reagan. You're not gonna remember
Captain
what happens in
American-
Reagan.
Oh,
I was gonna say this is a perfect transition. You're
say-
talking about bad movies having things you remember. This
Exactly.
your worst pick of the year is not that case. Let's talk about Reagan.
Yeah. We can move on. I mean, movies that there are bad movies that have value, and then there are bad movies that don't. The only way for a movie to really earn the lowest rating for me, a 1, a half star, whatever, is
Racism?
you have to racism, like truly bigoted shit,
Yeah.
or you fall into the other category, or you fall into both, honestly, like Reagan does, which is if a movie is both bad and boring, you've committed, like, a movie being boring, in my opinion, is one of the worst sins a movie can be.
I agree.
I'd rather watch Birdemic 20 times than keep watching Reagan, despite having seen Reagan 3 times now.
You
Yeah.
love that movie.
I wanna pull up the chat logs from yesterday when I was going through this, and then I can't believe you stuck around to watch it a second time, Jacob, because the way
I'm sick
You're
of
a-
that head, man.
you're sick in the fucking head. That was
You
fucked
just
up.
wanted to see that Japanese accent that was really real and genuine over and over again.
It genuinely like.
Is
I
that
said
was
this when
was
we
that
were
an
watching it, but I genuinely sat in the theater and I went, "Oh my god!"
That's not a guy in Yellowface, is it? Like that's an actual Asian actor, right?
That is definitely an East Asian actor.
Okay.
I don't know if he's Japanese, but I
Uh-huh.
do know that's definitely not his accent.
Yeah. It was
Because that guy is putting on the most racist ass Asian accent I've heard in my life.
They
It
couldn't
doesn't even
find anyone else
sound
to do it.
Japanese.
Couldn't find anyone to do it, and they didn't want to be canceled, so they had to find just an Asian presenting guy to do it. And they're like, all right, this will be good. This will be good. They can't yell at us. They can't yell at us. We got them to do it.
That's what it feels like. It feels like, I mean, not to like repeat things that we already talked about when we watched this film, but like, it feels like they saw the backlash that is perpetual to Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's, and they're like, well, the problem is that he's a white guy. And that's the end of all the problems. And you're like, I mean, being white is definitely a big contributor to why that scene is fucked. But maybe, just maybe, the racist depiction of an East Asian man might also be contributing to the problem here.
But we don't have time for that. We got to focus on jerking off Ronald Reagan for 2 hours. All right.
Yes.
That movie
Yeah.
was just.
I was mostly like I put the movie on the big screen.
This is what I'm so mad about. That's why
Yeah.
it doesn't have star. It's not. It doesn't do it in any interesting way. It just is like, this man is so important, and you're like, okay, are you gonna say anything?
They
And it's
do-
like, no, he's just important. Every aspect of his life is important.
Dude,
and
you
we're
know,
gonna
the
dedicate.
book. It all
The
started
book,
with this
the
childhood
lifeguard life experience was huge. All right, he did play football,
He loves
and
Jesus.
he loves Jesus. We gotta
Jesus.
remember he loves Jesus, and
Loves
that's why
Jesus.
America will be saved and Russia is fucked, is because
Amen.
we have God
Nancy
in
loves
America.
him. Nancy loves him.
Nancy
so much.
loves
Like,
him.
you gotta let
Fucking
Rob
Margaret
be Rob.
Thatcher loves him. Margaret Thatcher might be having an affair. We don't
They
know.
butt heads a little bit. You know. The Russians love him a lot, though.
Yeah,
You know,
oh my
they-
God, the
They're
KGB.
so impressed by him. They're so.
just like,
they're
how does he
fucking-
do it?
How does he do it? He's
Oh,
just-
does it?
Oh my God, Dutch, the fucking crusader, he keeps getting away with it. We just can't stop him. Yeah, I kept a counter as we were watching this movie of how many times they just have him say like a famous like quotable from his career, and
Yes.
they
And then
have
everyone stops
all
and
the
sings.
characters around the world turn to the TV screen in the room and look with the most awestruck look in their eyes as he
And then
says,
everyone claps.
and
the whole
everybody
class
claps.
It-
Oh my God.
I mean, the entire thing really feels like, wow, can you believe it? This is like a true story. Everyone
He's a real
fucking
person.
like
Real person. He's a real person who saved America from Jimmy Carter and the fucking communists.
Like the insinuation that Jimmy Carter is a Russian plot is so funny that it hits halfway through the film. I'm like, brother,
insane.
What's going on?
And then they
I know why. Look, that's the other thing. It's so predictable too.
Yeah.
The only time it's not predictable is when there's an interstitial that literally says over 800,000 people died and Ronald Reagan did nothing, and then it just moves on from that because it's during the scenes where it's like some people didn't agree with Reagan. Crazy.
Oh wait, you're right.
Epidemic.
Oh my god, I forgot about them literally putting that on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, this seems like that's like really bad, and it's like just hidden in a montage, and you're like, I mean, that did happen. Like,
yeah,
that's what's so interesting about this film. To me,
well, it's indicative of the filmmakers, like they don't care about it either, so they don't. They put it in such a way that indicates how little they care about it.
But this is kind of what I'm getting at. They didn't have to put that in.
They did it. You're right.
I know why. To some extent, I know why they put it in. Is because they want to make it seem like, it's
we're being honest.
Real.
Yeah, we're not being biased. We're trying to show that Ronald Reagan's a great man, and there were some things in his presidency that they didn't go his way. Blah 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 blah. We're trying to put on air of credibility. But like in making an air of credibility, they made the rest of the movie. And they could have also just not put that text up there. And so it's so like this. I was talking to both of you while we were watching, which is like, it's so strange that the movie is so clearly like Reagan's the greatest guy of all time.
Yeah. He is the great man.
In depicting the truth, they can't not show how he was a bad person. Like, they play it in ways which is like, there was some bad luck in his life, or, some things didn't work out.
Alcoholic.
Yeah, like, it like...
He sent in the National Guard on student protesters.
Like, him sending in the National Guard is portrayed as like, he pushed back against those student protesters. But what the movie still has to show is that he called in the National Guard on student protesters.
Yeah.
Like, it's still showing you that. And you're like, oh, this is like really weird.
He owned the libs, Jacob.
He did own the libs. It was all...
I mean, there's a couple of scenes where it's like he really specifically the student protesting where he turns around and then does shh against the silent protesters, and then they all chuckle, and I mean that's an actual like they all clap moment.
Yeah.
But like it's like that's what's, I don't know, maybe that's why I watched it so many times. This movie is the worst movie of the year. Like, it's really boring. It's presented in a really poor way in which, like, I told both of you, which is like,
there's nothing interesting.
Reagan's life is important, and it wants to quote unquote tell his whole life story, and because it considers everything equally important, every major event is given 1 to 3 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
Before it has to move on to the next thing, and so that there's never any build up or payoff. It's just a thing happens.
And it's because of that, it is simultaneously it just doesn't take any time on any of these things, but also because it happens so many times, it becomes like a fucking slog. Because it's just more of the same.
The only card the movie has to play.
And it just keeps presenting it in the same way, in the same tone, in the same breath that it has been doing for the last hour and a half. It's a 2-hour movie, and by that halfway point,
fucking long. It's way too fucking long. It's so boring. It doesn't help. It's a topic I don't give a shit about. I don't care. There's already bias coming in about watching this movie, but it's just too fucking long.
Yeah.
Venom: The Last Dance was an hour and a half. That was crazy. This movie was an hour longer.
You got through that, and it felt like no time at all relevant to Reagan.
Yeah, it goes. It just starts and it doesn't stop.
Fucking kept going, dude. If we not stop, at least we got to see him get dementia at the end.
But like that's what I'm talking about, though. Like, the film is bad and is racist and
oh my god! Quick shout out,
myth making,
Yeah.
But sorry,
I just want to do a quick shout out to the transition into politics where they have him start running either for state senate or governor, and they just mention, hey, can you like give your support to Barry Goldwater and maybe run for senator or the governorship, and like they kind of just move on, and then he goes to become governor or whatever. They don't at all address the fact that he, I guess, did I don't know if he gave support or not to Barry Goldwater, but they don't say one way or the other. Barry Goldwater, the fucking most racist candidate, yeah, that ever ran. And then like, oh, they do say that like the KGB narrator, he's just like, yeah, Goldwater decisively, the ultimate glazer. He's like, Barry Goldwater decisively lost, but Reagan won the governorship. And it's just like, okay, so we're just gonna leave up in the air whether or not Reagan was cool with Barry Goldwater. Okay, well, I guess it's fine.
Speaking of the KGB, they pull like a Thor Ragnarok and be like, the KGB isn't this? It's here. The KGB is with the people. Come on.
No. The motherland.
Oh, the motherland. The motherland. My bad.
You forget that John Voight Russian, he only speaks in like platitudes about the Russian Empire, and that's
because that's how Russians. That's what Russians do. You know,
that's young Russian guy. How did we lose? We were so ahead. I don't get it. Ah.
Good afternoon, Biotify. We're going through our worst movies.
So that's
right
another
now.
thing. Multiple times this movie is like, he played hardball with us. Can you believe it? And then it cuts back, and it's like Gorbachev being like, "Hey man, what if we like denuclearize? Wouldn't that be good?" And Reagan's like, "Yeah, but only on my terms."
Yeah.
Like, hello?
It's like you can't. Yeah, it goes back to your point of like by having to portray things true or be committing to portraying things truthfully while still also trying to put them in this glazing light. Like it just makes it in more stark relief of how fucking dog shit this man was and how we like. Honestly, it's kind of amazing we only got it as bad as we did from the end of his presidency. Like it seems like it could have been way worse if other people weren't like just, I don't know, able to corral it and like compartmentalize it to some degree. It's insane.
There's a clear ship in this movie that's going throughout the movie between Nancy and Ron. Who cares about that? I think I ship Gorbachev and Ron because there's so many late night phone calls in that movie between them.
Yeah,
it's just kind of so romantic. They really like each other.
Do you think
it's a big will they won't they?
Yeah. Well, he was so
the won't they moment of the film.
It was a very won't they. I think the KGB agent would be sitting in the chair and watching. You know, when they finally finally have their night of passion.
Obsessed with them on how Ronnie could finesse them.
Yeah,
because he got finessed. And they started that book.
I remember like reading the synopsis where it says like reliving Reagan's life through the strange connections that he happened to have with this one KGB agent, and I thought that the KGB agent was going to be more involved directly in Reagan's life, but he only is in the room with the man
he's just one.
He's just an observer. Like he literally just likes to watch. It's incredible. It's boring. It's fucking I don't know.
It's really so. Here's the other thing, and this kind of goes back to the racist accent thing, but like it goes beyond just like like that, because that is just sort of emblematic of the rest of the acting in the film, which is like all of the acting does not feel like I'm watching the person in this biopic. Like to some extent, all biopics you have to buy into like, hey, this person is portraying this real life human being. Like when I see Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln, I still understand that that's Daniel Day-Lewis playing Lincoln, but I buy into the
you can suspend your disbelief
more. When I watch this movie, every character feels like I'm watching an impersonator of the person they are trying to be. When Margaret Thatcher shows up, I go, that's nope. That's not right. The entire film, Dennis Quaid, I'm watching it and I'm like, this feels like a Ronald Reagan impersonator. This doesn't feel like I'm watching a movie starring about Ronald Reagan. It feels like I'm at fucking, the Hall of Presidents or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got to the part where it's Reagan. Like that's what it feels like.
I think they use Dennis Quaid. Like, you know, they like have multiple actors for like Reagan in multiple times of his
Yeah.
life. I think Dennis Quaid comes in a little bit early. Like he's really like young at that point, and Dennis Quaid is like looking like he's like really hanging in there with his age. He's like really hanging. I think Dennis Quaid chimes in way too early. Maybe they should have gotten like another actor between. But wow.
They can only find so many Reagan impersonators. Okay,
Bro, they
there's
got
that.
the wizards from Waverly Place, brother. That's like
Oh,
this is
whoa,
a big
They do.
dude,
wow.
guy.
Oh
He's
my
a
God.
wizard. He knows how to cast spells. He teaches the school now.
Yeah,
that's
and
how the
and
works
he let
I can't
those
believe
those
you know
two
the
black
lore.
football players stay at their house, so you know Ronald's not racist.
He's not racist.
But we're still not going to talk about whether or not he
We're on
endorsed
dr-
Goldwater.
Anyway, we're on drugs. That gets 2 seconds on the montage.
Yeah, I honestly, of these three movies, I think I will concede to you. I think I found that worse than my pick. I think that was the worst thing I've seen from last year, that came out last year. But
I think that's fair. I think
'Cause-
of the ratings, nothing of these three movies we're gonna talk about they're bad. None of them broke a half star for me. But Reagan and
What are you talking
Follow
about?
Your Dude.
You gave Venom the Last Dance
a one
and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one and a half. But Reagan and Follow Your Do rank up pretty similar for me. I think it's because like we're gonna transition to Follow Your Do now, but like wow.
Sure. Yeah. Is there any closing thoughts, Jacob, on Reagan before we get into the meat and potatoes of Vichi's pick?
I'm starting to think this Ronald Reagan guy might not be as good as this movie portrays him to be.
What do you mean? Everyone in the world was stopping and staring as he talked.
They couldn't help
Sorry,
it. They couldn't help
I
it.
feel like I'm just saying the same thing multiple times, but it is crazy that there are multiple sequences of discussions between Nancy and Ronald. I don't know why I'm using their first names.
Because we could really get to know him
Yeah,
personally.
we really get to know them in this movie.
Yeah.
Where it's presented in very traditional biopic language of like, Ronnie, you gotta fight, or like that type of language.
Hey, Ronnie gets
like,
the shit kicked in one
very
Yeah.
cliche type of language.
Yeah.
But how it's presented in the film, it really feels it makes them seem like ghouls. It's like really crazy where it feels like
The things that she's having him argue, or arguing for him to like fight for, is like the most batshit bad policy you've heard of.
Yeah, it's like it's so strange. Like it does genuinely feel like you're getting railroaded out there, Ronnie, and it's like, motherfucker, you're the president of the United States. Shut up.
Yeah.
And it just creates this weird dichotomy in which to some extent you could say like, oh, wouldn't this make the movie more entertaining because it's like weird in that way? And I'm like, it makes it more interesting as like a bad movie to explore, but that does not make it better than my lowest rating I can possibly give it.
It makes it more interesting as an analysis of like, because again, I'm pretty sure the people that wanted to see this movie and like, you know, were going to the theaters for this, they probably loved every second of it. They were probably
I don't even know.
Really?
Because the movie's so poorly it's like
I guess as a movie.
But it's also 2 hours. Like as we already said, it's really long.
That's true. Yeah, I don't.
It's
Maybe
really
that was too much
boring.
even for the huge Ronnie heads.
I think if you're a Reagan Glazer and you were watching that movie, you probably had an erection and then you might have come a little bit.
I mean, I would not be surprised.
You might
But
have come a little bit.
also,
The only
mean,
thing they might have
Dennis Quaid would
disagreed
not
with
help.
was being equated to a KGB agent who was also glazing Ronald Reagan that hard. Like that might be their only complaint, but you know.
no,
Yeah.
but they like that. They like the mythos that he's so powerful and so strong that like even his enemies had to respect him. Like that's part of the myth making.
They had to
Yeah.
sell it.
Anyway, my only other anecdote about Reagan is that not long after this, maybe like a couple days after this, I watched The Substance, which also stars Dennis Quaid. And it was very fucking crazy because I thought I was like losing my mind because I just watched this 2-hour-long movie where he plays Ronald Reagan and then he shows up as a different chauvinistic man, and I'm like, dude, he's there, he's haunting me.
He's in The Substance. Ronald Reagan's in that's The Substance. It's Ronald Reagan juice. Oh God.
He's in
Reagan
there.
is following you.
Yeah. All
I gotta
right.
watch that movie.
And now for the ultimate bad movie discussion.
To Ronald Reagan and say
Oh,
hello to the
oh,
Joker, baby.
oh, the Joker. All right, Bichu.
Oh,
Alright,
Let's hear it.
so the worst movie I picked was originally gonna be Mega Flopless because that movie was wow, that movie was something. Let me tell woo. But you know,
another movie with John Voight in it. Prominently featured John Voight presences this year.
but I wanted to see Folie à Deux twice because like I really feel like there was a chance for that movie to be bad, but I also feel like I could have enjoyed that movie too because I like musicals too. I like music. I enjoy
Well,
Christianity.
sorry to tell you about Joker
Yeah.
Folie à Deux as a musical.
And
It's not.
that movie was bad. Movie was so bad because one, I am one of the three people in this group that kind of enjoyed Joker, the first Jonker. I was a bit Jonker pill. I thought it was an alright film. It's just Taxi Driver. I mean, I kind of hated Taxi Driver, but I think Jonker, it's okay. I don't hate that movie that much. But the Folie à Deux kind of just like resets the entire progress of Jonker one, and I think, like I said in my review before in Letterboxd, is that if you had watched Jonker and then you watch Jonker 2, it makes the experience worse than if you just jump straight to Jonker 2. Well, at least for me, because we're just backtracking on this Arthur Fleck that I hated watching in the beginning. A little, he's just fucking doing nothing, laughs to himself, doesn't talk to anyone. That's one reason why I hated it. Just two more main reasons. Two, musical's awful.
Yeah, I can't.
Arthur cannot sing. I know I've heard before that Joaquin can actually sing. Joaquin cannot sing in any of these songs.
He doesn't walk
Awful.
alone.
He sounds awful. I don't. Maybe no training at all. Maybe it was intentional. I think it was intentional.
Well, you can tell that at least they
Yeah.
directed Lady Gaga to do intentionally bad singing in some sequences, because she does good singing in some sequences, but then there's other earlier sequences where it's bad. So I think it is directional. I think that was a choice.
Okay, it's a terrible choice. Awful choice. Jukebox musical. Terrible. None of the songs move the plot forward. They
Nope.
just put the fucking movie on hold, and they're like, "Oh, do they love each other? They love each other."
Oh my god!
I didn't know that. I didn't know. Even though I don't buy the fact that they love each other, but they're telling me they love each other.
They don't love each other. That's like, I hate to do this, but that is kind of the point of that narrative arc in the film.
Yeah, but you didn't need the juke.
If that was the point, Bobby keeps jumping on my lap. If that was the point, it's not painted. It's not like construed.
That's
it's not
fair.
constructed.
Yeah.
It's terribly painted to me because I don't know what this movie is trying to be. I really don't know who the movie's for. I literally don't know.
It's
who the
for
movie's
Todd
for.
Phillips.
I'll be honest, it's yes, it's for Todd. Nick is 100% right. It's for Todd Phillips.
There's the court drama in this movie that doesn't work. It's bad. And when the movie's trying to be serious, it doesn't make any sense. It's not serious.
Bro,
at
I
all.
was watching this movie with Justin and Vivian, and when he pulled out the fucking To Kill a Mockingbird, like, Southern drawl for his courtroom, like, self-defense, I was like, oh my god.
I kind of think I kind of like that.
I can't be by your side on that one.
It works in which it's look. Please continue complaining about the movie. Because I'm gonna have to turn into Foghorn Leghorn at some point, which I fucking hate. I say this at the top. I say this before we even recorded. I hate that I have to come in and say why this movie's not the worst.
I'm kind of in agreement with you, Jacob. I don't think I hate this nearly as much as Beachy does. Like, I think there are things that I could find
and I think
enjoyment in this
Bichu
movie.
Has already deconstructed one of the main things that separate us from him, which is I really, really don't like Joker 1.
Yeah.
Bichu kind of likes Joker 1. And I think if you have any affinity for Joker 1, Joker 2 is an entire movie about the director of Joker 1 going, I think I fucked up. I don't think I should have made Joker 1. I think Joker 1 is a bad movie, and if you like it, I hate you.
I mean, like, aside from like the terrible jukebox musical with none of the songs working and it always flashing into a different scene that's not currently playing out in reality and completely puts the film on pause, and I'm just watching a song being sung badly by two people that put the movie on pause. Aside from that and the regression of Joker, The romance between you're saying that they're not don't even love each other. I guess fine, I guess, but like, I'm just watching two people not even love each other, sing about them loving each other, and terrible music, and then just kind of like replaying the first movie through other people, but really shittily and in a terrible courtroom drama that doesn't work. It's terrible. And he's allowed to represent himself in the outfit too.
Oh my god, bro, that judge is cooked. That judge needs
And
to
then the
get.
ending of the movie. What is going on? The real Joker's here. He was here all along. And
Well, that was that part.
he
Honestly,
killed Arthur.
like
What is
I will be.
That part's about Todd Phillips being very precious. That's literally Todd Phillips being upset that people made him have to be upset about him making the Joker and then killing the Joker to prove a point. It's because
Yeah.
he's too far up his own ass.
Oh
I
my
hate
God.
I hate is a strong word. I don't know if I hate Todd Phillips. I definitely strongly dislike Todd Phillips. I don't like how he makes a lot of his movies. I don't like his sensibilities. I think he's kind of an asshole. But the one thing I think is kind of too precious about his own work, but the one thing I do like about Joker Folie à Deux is it's the one time I feel like I can tell that he is like, guys, maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe I'm a piece of shit.
A moment of
and I need to
self-reflection.
Stop.
Yeah, I
I
think
need
want
to
to have a
stop.
cup of coffee with this guy. I think you just like this guy.
You're right.
I think like from watching it last night, I also watched Joker 1 too because I only saw it when it came out in theaters, and I remember coming out of that experience being like, wow, they did a really good job of getting in how fucked up our society is. I was jonker-pilled on first viewing, but I have to clarify that by saying that I was in the theater thinking that someone was gonna get up and become truly Joker-pilled at the climax of the movie.
That's
Right.
kind of what Joker 2's about.
And so
that's what I kind of like about Joker 2. I hate that I'm getting animated about Joker 2. I fucking hate my existence.
When I
hate being this
rewatched
person.
it, like outside of that environment, I was less impressed with it. I don't think I dislike it as much as you do, Jacob, but I can see the flaws in the story it's trying, or like kind of what it's not really getting at, or like it doesn't really feel like it has as much to say as it might be feels like it has to say.
Joker 1 is Todd Phillips being like, isn't the world fucked up?
Yeah.
Fucking
Isn't it
twisted,
just
man?
a shame
And I'm
that
like,
we live in this world?
Shut up, man.
It doesn't really go into like any of the. It doesn't want to go deeper than that, and other than saying it is fucked up.
It vaguely gestures at stuff.
Yeah.
It uses the setting
Mhm.
of like mental illness and poverty in order to make the setting be like, isn't this like grimy and like
But Jacob, I
twisted?
have a real question for you. So like, what like? It seems like a lot of your enjoyment from this movie just comes from the fact that you can see what Todd is seeing, and that's fine. Okay.
Yes.
You can see what Todd's seeing. You can see his vision, but there's like, I'm trying to find the words for it. His vision's on that movie. You know, he's projecting that in the movie, and then we have this. He's following the recipes. Blah, 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 he's got the cake. All right. You like what the chef's recipe was, but he made this cake.
Well,
What
look,
about
to
the
be-
cake you actually like? What is there a scene that you like really like? Because there's no scene for me that I really like. In Jonker, the first Jonker, when after fucking Jonker jonks 3 people.
There is actually a scene I do like, because I think
Okay.
that there's a scene that encapsulates everything that I like and hate about Joker 2.
So when he jonks those 3 people and then goes to the bathroom and does that really shitty dance in the mirror.
I hate that scene.
I love that scene because it's so Jonker pilled. So I want to know, what was that Jonker scene for you in Jonker 2?
Well, it's the anti-Jonker scene in Jonker 2, really.
Here's the scene that I kind of think encapsulates, like I said, everything that I think works and doesn't work about
When he
Joker
comes
2.
in Lady Gaga.
No. I do think
God, I
that scene
forgot
is
about that.
Very funny. In like that's one of the ones where it's not funny. It was one of those scenes where I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this right now. What's happening?
Wild. What the fuck is going on?
That's a scene that is also a little bit too much of Todd Phillips getting a little bit too precious, where he's like, if you like the Joker, you come too quickly and your GF hates you. And I'm like, look, Todd, I get it, man, but you don't have to. You don't have to go this. You don't have to go this route. You don't have to do this, man. So the entire Lady Gaga stuff is like fucked, because that's clearly Todd Phillips being like, can you believe it? educated rich white woman be like, dude, fucking Charles Manson, that guy's like crazy, but he's also kind of hot. And that's like his take.
Character.
That's
Harley
his.
Quinn,
That's
Lady
yeah.
Gaga's not a character. She's not a character.
She's not a character. She's an idea that Todd Phillips has about a certain individual in society.
Yeah.
And I think that take is dumb and reductive and not interesting.
Yeah.
You like this movie? Are you sure you like this movie?
No, hold on. He didn't say that. Jacob, I don't think you're saying you like this movie.
I'm not saying I like this. I gave this movie a 5 out of 10, which is something I do for all movies that contain things that I both really like and really hate. It's the law of equivalent exchange.
Give me that scene. I need to hear the scene.
Yeah. So the scene is when it's the courtroom scene with.
Is it with Mr. Puddles?
Yes, it's the courtroom.
That's also the scene for me. I also think that was a good scene.
Because that scene is literally Todd Phillips talking to someone about Joker 1.
Yeah.
And it also unfortunately contains, like, Todd Phillips becomes too precious and has to include a joke about how he's short by visually showing us that he needs a Yellow Pages in order to sit. And I'm like, Todd, what the fuck are you doing? This is like a good scene if you aren't a fucking shit. Stop being a dickhead. I fucking hate you. Why are you like this? God. But then the rest of the scene is the Joker being like, oh, no, that was just like a joke. And he's like, I didn't really think it was, like, I'm really fucked. Like, I'm actually really traumatized by what you did. And he's like, but like, was a joke, right? And he's like, dude, that like, I don't think you understand. Like, your actions, even though it wasn't intended, like, caused me a lot of harm that I will never get over. And that's Todd being like, uh-oh, I made Joker 1 as like, isn't it twisted, like, as like a joke, and then people took it seriously and real people got actually worried and scared for their life, and I fucked up because of that.
Yeah.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the Joker, baby.
That's interesting. That
not be
like
the Joker. The Joker is not cool. The Joker's an asshole.
Yeah, I find that's an interesting interpretation of that scene, because I also think there's another way to read it insofar as talking to the people who are like, I am the Joker, and when Mr. Puddles is like, you never made fun of me. You were like the only person in our workplace that didn't like insult me for my size, or you know, you were the only person that was nice to me. And that was, and in Joker 1, that was like the thing that Arthur Fleck was like, I'm not gonna hurt you. You were cool to me. Thank you for not being an asshole to me. Me showing you my appreciation for that is me not killing you. And like in Joker 2, Mr. Puddles is just like, you were the one decent person to me, but you've fucking thrown that out the window because you fucking decided that that everything else is so bad that you were gonna throw everything away, and because of that, I'm traumatized now, and like I can't, respect you or be around you anymore.
So I really like that interpretation. I didn't view that scene that way. So I think that interpretation, it gives me a perspective on why you guys had some semi-enjoyment.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe that the movie was more focused on that, and instead of being dogpiled on the other aspects of the film that make it so shitty, like it being a terrible musical. I think honestly
the musical, it doesn't.
The musical
like,
part was the worst.
I agree. By the second half, every time a music interstitial comes in, I'm like, Todd, let's just get through this scene, okay, buddy? Todd, I'm with you here. Some of the ideas I agree with you, but we got it. You decided to put this in the movie, Todd, and now we're gonna have to sit through it together, okay?
We're at the end of the movie, and I'm Joaquin Phoenix being like, "Please stop singing.
Please stop singing." Yes,
stop singing.
And that was the thing. That was another like little thing where I was just like, okay, this actually kind of works. Where Harley Quinn is like,
it kind of works, but it doesn't, because I really want them to stop singing.
It was not worth. Yeah, I literally am Arthur Fleck when I'm like, please stop singing. Like, you took way too long with this. We were joking when we were watching it that the fucking Like Todd Phillips just needed to pad for time. Like he had a movie that was a boring court case drama, and he's just like, "Fuck, man, we need more screen time. Let's just add musical numbers."
So here's my pushback against that interpretation. Not to like deny that that is a possibility, but what it really feels to me is that Todd Phillips is a guy who really likes music. Like this is his.
That's
point.
true. Okay, yeah,
he really likes music, and he really likes musicals. And what it really feels like is, and I think I talked to you about this specifically, which is like, what it feels like is he was like, oh, I really like musicals. It would be cool if I could incorporate musicals, something I like,
really was
into
like
this
that.
movie.
Dude, that was like, I've never done it before.
It's like, yeah, it shows, Todd. It shows that you've never done this before.
And it really feels like when I'm watching it, it's like, this feels like someone who likes musicals, who does not really fully understand musicals on the screen, trying to execute on the ideas that musicals try and get across.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah.
And so because of that, like I said, whenever one of those scenes come up, all you can really do is sit there and be like, all right, I'm just gonna
we're just gonna regurgitate what we just went through in the regular screenplay, but now it's through music. Okay,
Timmy, I'm glad you got a part in the musical play production this year. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Todd was really dogpiling on Fleck too. Like it's just the character in general. You're just like really being like, this guy stinks. Also, let's just put in a scene of him where he's implied sexually assaulted. And I was just like,
that's another thing where Todd gets too precious about his shit, where he feels the need to self-flagellate a character just for the sake of it. And you're like, Todd, you didn't fucking need to do this. It's the same thing as the stabbing. It's the same thing as what you just brought up, Uchi, which is like, you're like, Todd, shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. If you focus on, like, at least for me, if he stopped focusing so much on himself and the feelings he has about, you ruined my toy. This was just supposed to be fun, and you ruined it. Now I'm mad. Now I have to make a movie called Joker Folie Do about how it's not a good thing, and I'm kind of upset about that. And I'm like, Todd, just write the apology, Todd. You don't have to include everything else.
Write the twit longer.
Don't write the twit longer. Keep it to the character limit, Todd. If you keep it to the character limit, you won't accidentally go off and say stupid shit. Stop saying stupid shit, Todd. You can do this. I can see you be able to do this.
There's a world.
We'll see if Todd gets another movie after this, because wow, this movie flopped hard.
Yeah.
It flopped mega hard. I don't know if it flopped harder than Megaflopolis though.
We live in a world where Colin Trevorrow keeps getting work, so I don't have any faith that any repercussions can come.
Marvel movies.
Is that true?
Want to die.
He wrote.
I'm
he wrote Kang Dynasty,
baby.
But that's no longer a thing anymore.
Okay.
Everyone, don't forget to salute the captain today. Okay. Don't forget to salute Captain Trevorrow. He's gonna take us on a ride.
Oh God! All right.
The Colin Trevorrow train is such a funny train to ride because, you know, in the past I was like, oh, I don't like Colin Trevorrow. He makes movies I don't enjoy and scripts I dislike. But now it's like Venom again, where I'm like, but there's like something really unique about
how bad they are.
I like, there's like a flavor profile to it where I'm like, this is not good for me.
Yeah, I'll give you. I had a similar experience between Venom: Last Dance and fucking Jurassic World Dominion. Yeah. Honestly, it's very similar.
Only Colin can write a script in a way where I go, you know what? I didn't think I needed the Book of Henry in my life, but am I kind of glad it exists? A little bit. Much like the Joker in a sick, twisted way. I'm laughing at the things society would not even dare to laugh at.
All right. Before we go down a Colin Trevorrow rabbit hole, do you have anything else on last comments on Joker Folie Do, Vici, before we hop over?
Fucking music was the worst music I ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I am in 100% agree with
until I heard the one Emilia Perez song about
oh god.
Post-sex surgery, trans surgery. I don't know what the term is, but the term the bar penis to vagina is just ringing in my head.
Oh my god.
What? Sorry, it was Megaflopolis versus what we were looking for is the Joker. That's right. Yeah. The movie we're talking about.
Yeah. The one we're currently talking about.
Oops.
But yeah,
Are you looking at like average rating?
I'm looking at its box office.
Oh,
It-
okay.
it's-
Megalopolis, I gotta be honest, did not make a lot of money. Joker 2 most likely made. Let's see. Okay.
a chunk.
So Joker Folly a Dude made way more than Megalopolis, but
Fair.
I do have to admit,
the budget.
Megalopolis did make more money than Impractical Jokers the movie, the other thing that showed up in my search when I looked up Joker movie. So
Okay.
also,
Who's the real
so,
winner
like,
here?
I don't know how to tell you guys this. It didn't make enough money to really like fully justify itself.
What, Joker?
But yeah, Joker 2.
Oh, that's the other thing that we were talking about when we were watching it.
Like, its production budget-
$200 million for that? Kind of insane.
What is the money
Insane.
going to?
Lady Gaga.
No, and not just Lady Gaga. I think it's a lot of the acting. I think it's a lot of there's a lot of like sequences that need to be made whole cloth, and
Yeah.
like I don't know, like there is money in the picture. It's just not well utilized.
It's not well
Anyway, Joker
utilized.
still made $200 million, and without advertising, it breaks.
Yo,
even, so.
200 John Killian.
And
Whoa.
that's worldwide. That's worldwide.
Okay.
Domestically, it bombed at like
Yeah.
58, which is really bad. But internationally, it made 150, like basically 150 million.
Okay.
So it's still, it's still a flop, like
Yeah.
relative to like Joker 1, which made $1 billion.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, let's stop talking about bad movies. Let's start talking about good movies. Let's go to our picks for
I don't think
best
I will.
thing. Oh, okay. All right. We'll just keep talking about Colin Trevorrow then for the next hour. I'll go first.
You have to go to different ATMs to pull out $500 in cash. This will not rouse the suspicion of the authorities at all.
What is that from?
That's from Book of Henry.
Oh, I haven't seen Book of Henry. I'm not as Trevorrow pilled as you are. All right.
We gotta watch Book of Henry, man.
God, all right. I want to talk about good movies, please.
I love good movies.
Let me talk about Furiosa. I'll talk about Furiosa because I'll admit I haven't. This is gonna be another one where I didn't rewatch it recently to have it fresh in my mind. But I do remember, like.
Yeah,
just
I probably should have for Furious. I guess
the-
I have, if all three of us have
I think I can
Furiosa pretty well.
Yeah, I can definitely get a good amount of things.
3 times. So.
Yeah, like, and I think the first thing I should maybe address is like the comparison to Fury Road, because that was another fucking masterpiece. Like when that came out, and I've rewatched it somewhat recently, and still fucking holds up. And I think. Like, I gave Furiosa 5 stars. I gave Mad Max Fury Road 5 stars. I think I would still put Fury Road above Furiosa because I just like the type of movie that Mad Max Fury Road is a little bit more than I like Furiosa. But they're not really the same. They're different experiences.
They're incredibly different experiences.
Yeah, and like
it's the strength of both of those movies that they're very different.
Yeah, and I love like that the giving Furiosa 5 stars comes from how well they execute on this kind of. I think I would say it's kind of like an Odyssey, experience of
Yes.
watching her journey going through childhood, coming up in this fucked up world, and then like having this recurring villain coming back up in their life, and then having the resolution
I love
with
that guy. I love Chris. Chris
with
Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. I'm trying to remember he was the
You can look it up right now.
Dementis,
Dark
Dark.
little voice.
And then
His
he
voice is
the
amazing,
voice
so
thing
good.
is so funny. Like, and then he becomes Dark Dementis when he
Yes,
goes sicko mode.
I was gonna bring this up, but to this day, me and my friends, like in Northern Virginia, whenever we're hanging out and something goes wrong, we're like, "You make me Dark Dementis."
I'm gonna become Dark Dementis. I'm going through it. Yeah, and just like that whole story, and having her mentor figure like be the previous Road Warrior kind of figure, or the rig driver, I should say.
Yeah.
And they still have amazing fucking action sequences too. I think some people were complaining that like there was a little bit more evident
the,
CGI
yeah,
in this.
the action sequence was beautiful.
Yeah, I think I was on board for all of them. They still kicked ass. I was gripping the chair, like, going through it
Oh, it's
in
gripping.
the theater. I was gripping. And yeah, I don't know. The acting was on point. Like, I mean, Charlize Theron not coming back is whatever. She had a fucking hellish experience with Fury Road, from what I
I mean,
understand. So
does she need to come back? It's not like
no, she
Anya
didn't need to
Taylor-Joy
come up.
can.
Anya Taylor-Joy did a fantastic job.
I
Like,
mean, like
Yeah.
she's supposed to be the younger version of Furiosa anyway.
right, that
I
too.
feel like
Yeah, so like,
that mattered.
makes sense. But yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy did a great job. Chris Hemsworth did a great job, and like having the some of the I mean, there was different actors for playing Immortan Joe and stuff, but like
Yeah, 'cause
the
the other
supporting
guy.
cast, right?
Yeah.
But like the people that filled in did a great job, and it was just kind of it's like a 3-hour movie, right? It's really long, but like you don't feel that going through it.
Oh, it is 3
Enthralled
hours.
by it.
Holy fuck!
It's an odyssey. It is
that's a
an
good movie.
odyssey. Like, I think that's the best word I could use to describe it, but it succeeds on delivering
it's
that
really
kind
good.
of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like have much thoughts to say because so I give like a 4 out of 5, so like 8 out of 10. Very solid movie. I love Anya Taylor-Joy, and I like seeing Chris Hemsworth in things that are not just Marvel movies because I think he's a pretty solid actor, and I think Dark Dementis was pretty
Dark
funny.
Dementis.
The action was
Yeah.
good. I think it was just a very good, solid movie. I liked it, but
Yeah.
I don't really have much thoughts on it.
Yeah.
It's didn't really evoke much of that.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts on it. If you do, Jacob, I'll let you go.
I
But-
do. I just I didn't want to
No, you got it. Go for it.
bust up. Okay.
Closing thoughts. We just opened.
I kind of went on a little bit of a journey with this movie, pun intended, where like I was kind of in a similar camp to Beachu, where I was like, this is a really good movie, but I don't know if it emotionally clocks in with me as much as I want it to. And I think even though going into it being like this isn't going to be Fury Road, and I shouldn't expect it to be Fury Road.
Yeah.
I think the unbearable weight of massive talent still I know that's a cheap joke, it's just reference, but it does kind of feel a little bit like that, about like there is some pre-existing history that is standing over this movie that even though I tell myself to go in and not think about, it's kind of hard not to think about. I also think that this movie is asking a lot more than Fury Road does. And that's not to diminish Fury Road. Fury Road is still on my favorites of all time. Like Fury Road is arguably one of the films
Because it
that is a
executes what it sets out to
defining
do
film.
flawlessly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Witness me.
It's a defining film in my like lexicon. Like it is incredibly important to me and my history with film. And it's one of these things where once I kind of got past it, it finally I finally started clicking with it more on its own level. It's like impossible not to, at least for me, fall in love with. Like I this movie came out right before I had to take my preliminary exams for my program. And I was really excited. I was like, I'm gonna get to watch a new George Miller movie right before then. And basically, what happened is I watched the movie the week before my exams. I watched it again the week of my exams, and then I watched it again the week after my exams because it just became this insanely comforting film. Like I
Yeah.
feel so wrapped up in its warmth and it's kind of weird positivity about the world. I mean,
Yeah.
not to kind of turn this discussion into something else, but like George Miller and David Lynch have very different approaches, and I'm only bringing up David Lynch because he passed.
Rest in peace.
But they both do this thing where they like exploring ostensibly the most evil shit that you could imagine. George Miller has done some things that are not about that, but he's still, a lot of his films are sort of about these sort of like negative forces within society. I mean, the entire Mad Max franchise is about like, and ecological apocalypse that we brought on because of our own greed, specifically, especially as detailed in Fury Road, surrounding like greed reinforced by masculinity,
Yeah.
and how like a hyper masculinely driven society led us to like violence and destruction and our own doom. And about how like the only way to overcome that is sort of through like love and community. I mean, Furiosa is very much about like, look, you can't kill the world.
Yeah.
You can't just go through life and be like, I'm gonna solve this problem by fucking shit up. And
Yeah.
instead, you kind of need to take solace in like protecting the stuff that matters
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like having those emotional connections with other people. And
Jacob.
Furiosa really like the warmth of that film just really washes over me in a way that I really appreciate and feel so like I wrote about it in one of my reviews where it's just this like Homeric epic
Yeah.
in how it's designed. It uses the language of myth so well, which Miller has been using a lot more recently in his films, between this and 3,000 Years of Longing. And it's so much about like storytelling and how stories are important to us. Like at no point does this ever feel necessarily like it has to be a real story, because it feels so much more about like the narrative and the exploration of the feelings within that narrative. And I just really like I could just I have not gone back to Fury Road, even though it's one of my favorite movies of all time, namely because it's been etched in my head for so long. Like I
Yeah.
can still visualize that entire movie from beginning to end off of one viewing I had a decade ago. But Furiosa is different, in which I don't need to remember everything that happens in Furiosa, but everything that happens in Furiosa makes me happy. It's
So
like a
Jacob,
different relationship. Sorry,
I'm
continue,
feeling a
Keisha.
lot of glazing of George Miller, but yet you haven't seen two of his greatest works, Happy
I
Feet
haven't.
or Happy Feet 2. What's going on here?
I have seen Happy Feet too, and I have seen Happy Feet. I love
Yet to
Happy
be
Feet is very
logged.
strange. Happy Feet is yeah, I haven't logged it. As a reminder, all of my letterbox is 2019
Yeah.
post.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have seen those movies before. I should have logged Happy Feet too, because I definitely watched it
Yeah,
after that.
you like Happy Feet too. You like
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. One in a trillion.
Happy Feet 2 is one of the craziest fucking movies of all time. If you have not seen it, I don't. It, the Amazon description for the movie, was one of my most viral posts of all time, because I realized how they were I just posted about how they were describing the movie and having like a connection about it, where they describe Mumble's son as choreophobic, and I went, "What the fuck is happening?" Because because the setup of that movie is like, oh, they're doing the first movie again, but instead of a penguin who can't sing, it's a penguin who can't dance, and it's a similar conflict. And in actuality, that movie is about the circle of life in a way that is much deeper than like the first movie is about breaking cycles, and the second movie is about how you should try and break those cycles, but also you do have a role to play within the grand construct of nature, and everyone's participation is important, or else the world will end. And you're like,
Oh
huh?
my
Anyway, in
god.
that movie, Brad Pitt and Matt Damon play, no joke, Krill, who are in a gay relationship.
One in a trillion. One in a trillion.
One in a Krillian.
Let's
All
move
right.
on to the
Yeah,
next
let's
movie.
let's move on. All day for my closing thoughts. The last thing I want to pull up is my letterbox review, which I think is an important element. Is I put in live historic on the trauma road, which I think is a strong like character theme
Historic.
of like her. You know, she's gone through the ringer, but she, like you said, you know, is holding on to the hope for the better world and like
You're making me wanna
protecting
put on
that.
this movie again.
I probably am gonna
It's
put on this movie again at some point, because
so
I want to
good.
watch it again now.
I want the steelbook so bad, and I don't have it yet.
Yeah, but yeah, Furiosa, my pick of the year. Love it a lot. Jacob, what you got?
Okay. So I was on Letterboxd one day, and I had noticed that a lot of people I followed on Letterboxd were rating and reviewing a movie called Rap World very highly. And I went, I don't know what this movie is. I don't care. But it just kept showing up. And it wasn't like it was showing up and people were like, you know, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know, here's a strange little movie everyone kind of got into
A
for
fit for context. It's like a 50-minute movie on YouTube, like a short
yes,
film.
it's
Essentially.
100% free. It's not really a full length film, but you can log it on Letterboxd, and it has the structure of it.
Yeah.
1 hour is good for a film. I mean, I wouldn't say good. It's
Yeah,
sufficient.
it's like just on the edge of being like, this is a short, this is a full length film. Regardless, it was one of those things where, you know, these people whose opinion I trust were like, this thing's a banger. Everyone should go watch it. And I went, you know what? Fine. I'm feeling a little down. I got nothing else going on. I'll watch Rap World. Whatever. And then I realized Rap World is made by, you know, some really funny comedians I like, Connor O'Malley, and sort of all that, you know, weird extended SNL / sorry to bother you, or
I think you should leave. Kind
I think
of.
you should leave. Sorry to bother you, a very different thing.
Very fun movie, though.
Very fun movie, but yeah, I think you should leave. And I watched it. Like, I know this bit is overused and really cliche and really stupid, so I'm sorry I have to use it. But it was one of those things where it was the Danny DeVito. I get it. Like, I get it now.
I just gotta do something.
Yeah.
No worries. Like, I think that movie is such a demonstration that it doesn't matter your production budget.
Yeah.
You can still make true art. And it also doesn't, the quote unquote seriousness of your movie also doesn't pertain to how much real art you're making.
Yeah.
Because this is around an hour comedy, like you said, posted on YouTube. And it is just one of the funniest fucking things I've seen in such a long time, because it taps into a feeling about the the post,
like the early
beginning of the
YouTube area,
recession.
like the early, late 2000s.
The late 2000s, it taps into the vibe of that era better than movies that were coming out during that time period.
Oh yeah.
As sorry to have to say this, as a white boy growing up in the suburbs, I knew people who were like the motherfuckers in Rap World.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when you're a kid, you're like, damn, these guys just like hang out all the time. They seem so cool. And then like later on, you're like, oh, these people have experienced. They're not okay.
They've experienced hells beyond your imagination. Of their own making.
Okay, and they do not have the emotional capacity. Not like it's inherent to them, like they can't do it, but they were never,
the conditioning,
the isolating nature
Yeah.
of the American suburbs and also the commodification of American capitalism. They are not equipped to handle the stuff that they have to deal with as adults, and it really feels like it's really I've talked about this type of archetype character before, but there's this sort of like late 2000s, early 2010s like Seth Rogen character of the guy who never grew up, and the comedy about like, oh, you know, he never grew up, and then at the end of the movie he kind of grows up a little.
Yeah.
And
very romantic.
How those people are not because of their circumstances and how they have reinforced their like attitudes about existing in the world, those people can't grow up. They're trapped in like a territory of arrested development. Not to say that they can't escape their station, but the way in which culture has morphed their brains, it's one of the funniest and also like a real depiction of something that feels really sad, but it allows you to sort of laugh at like,
yeah,
look,
black comedy.
Is it
almost
sad? Yes, but also it never feels like the movie is punching down at these people. It is making fun of people who act this way.
Yeah.
Not in a way that feels like it is blaming the conditions that led them to this, but it is also not excusing their behavior. And I think this movie is so well executed because it is doing something that looks easy, but in my opinion can really easily get fucked up
Yeah.
and be bad.
Yeah.
Circa the comedies of the era in which they are like existing in.
Yeah, I think
to do this.
I think you
and
said
this
it
movie
while
can do it.
I think you said it while we were watching it, or while I put it on yesterday, and that it was just like the fact that you can make bad good, like if that makes sense, like where
Yes.
they're doing bad good, like they're making this thing look shitty in an entertaining way, and that's very hard to like nail that well. And I think they did a pretty good job with it.
And I'll let you go after this, Bichu, but there's one other thing I just wanted to point at, which is just sort of like this, like kind of the way you're saying, like it. How do I word this? Bichu, you go, because I want to make sure I'm wording this right in the way that I want.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on that, Bichu?
I thought it was solid. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought its attempt to recreate that time period was pretty good. There's a Windows 10 loading screen though that ruined it.
Oh, you gotta get the CinemaSins ding.
I did catch that the second time.
Ruined everything.
But
Yeah, I thought. I mean, Conor O'Malley's humor is pretty funny. So a lot of his humor is based in I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
And,
We haven't spoiled like the thing that happens towards the end yet, so I'm not gonna at this point. But like,
we could though.
But we haven't. I think we
many
can
die, but not so many die full a burger.
So true, so true.
But that was insane. I did not expect that at all. That was an insane pivot. But it works.
I didn't expect it, and except it's the most basic. It's the most basic cinematic. It is genuinely, they just do Chekhov's gun in this movie. They just do. Set up a gun in the first act, and in the third act, the gun gets used. It's the most basic film premise of all time, and it's done in this really silly movie.
Yeah, I don't understand though. He was feeling like $1 million. I was on the phone.
I'm feeling.
We just finished a fucking rap album.
A mile. He could run a mile.
God.
Thank you. I'm so glad that they didn't press charges. And it really was an accident. Like it just played to my sensibilities so well, in which I was like, this is awkward humor in a way I find really funny. And the sequence I'm remembering, which is like so, like it's this weird thing about something that still happens today, which is like people who are like, I don't care about society, but are actually so clearly bought into like societal norms in such a like a weird contrast way. Which I'm always struck and always think it's both the saddest, craziest, funniest sequence in the movie, where Conor O'Malley's character is explaining how he ended up with his wife, which is he's explaining they're on the back porch like all white boys in the suburbs. They're sitting on the back porch, and he's trying to explain he's trying to explain the situation, and he's explaining the way where you're like, oh, everyone knows that this is bad, but no one wants to say that it's bad, so we just have to like do the social like dance of like, oh yeah, like that's kind of crazy, where he's like, yeah, she told me she was pregnant. I broke the glass table. I left. Yeah. I came back the next day
with a ring.
I said, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right. And I'm like, how real that is fucked me up. Where I was like I said, there are people who I know who would act like that. Who are like, well, look, it's kind of like a fucked up thing. Yeah, but like, I'm going to do the right thing by doing the thing society expects me to do. And you're like, hey, man, this is not okay.
Yeah.
I Think You Should Leave is kind of about social norms in a way where,
but in a much more absurdist.
I pour water in my steak. Is that normal?
Exactly. It's about twists on social norms in which it's like, this guy is kind of like, It's the hey, you can say anything on this ghost tour, and then he does say anything on this ghost tour.
I'm not trying to ruin anyone's day, make it the worst day of their life.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Do they come out of their wall with a big horse cock and give a cum shot? like that's really funny.
Yeah.
This is not a dig on I think you should leave.
no.
The
But
stuff that I really like in rap world is the fact that it is so genuinely real.
yeah,
It's I think you should leave, but in the way that it's not, hey, this person is going a little bit too far. It's this person is doing something you can expect, and it's fucking like it forces you to realize the absurdity of like some of these, like the way people act and try and act, for lack of a better term, quote unquote, like civilized individuals, where they're like, well, you know, that's just what you do, man. And you're like, dude, you're the fucking worst. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Well, he has that fight with his wife later on, and you're like,
that he jacks off.
Yeah. Oh my god, I was fucking losing it when it cuts to them fucking jerking it. Oh my god.
You're just like, I fucking hate that this is 100% a thing that has happened in the real world.
Yeah.
Where two people who are incapable of having like an actual adult conversation free of the mores of expectation are like, look, sometimes couples fight, and you're like, no, you guys don't understand. You're not okay. Please seek help.
No, but they got back together. They were looking so sexy with the gun in her hand, you know? It's so sexy.
I mean, that's like
no, yeah.
thing. It's like it's partially about like the weird power privilege that being white in the suburbs gives you, where you're like, it's just gonna work out. I got a plan, and therefore it's gonna work out. Like that power, like when they're playing around with Chekhov's gun in the first minute, I'm like, this is the scariest scene I've seen in a movie this year.
Yeah.
Because this is how people act.
Yeah, this is how white kids in the suburbs act.
Like, dude, I'm like tough. And
yeah,
like,
let me just put it on their
skull, and you're like, dude, you're gonna fucking kill yourself, man. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Please, I'm begging you.
Yeah. Oh my god. It was I don't think I connected with it as much as you did, but I do see where you're coming from, and it did work for me for like most of it. Like it just was very funny.
Yeah,
One last
very
thing.
funny movie. I love Conor O'Malley's comedy.
When that guy, I know I'm kind of just, this is a thing in the
you're glazing
my brain. I know, I'm sorry, but like the setup and payoff, like I think so much of this movie works because of the setup and payoff, but the setup, building tension, like this is why I think this movie deserves the, like, why I feel about it this way is because it is executing on these things so well, which is like there's such a rising tension in the guy who has a girlfriend who he clearly has never really gone on a date with, and has constructed a false reality about how in love they are because of like 5 conversations they've had, and he's like, I'm gonna propose to her, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is this is fucked. They go to yeah, it's Connor's sister. They go to the party, and he's like trying to work himself up to do it, and you're like, I'm going to
die. I'm gonna curl up and die.
The 2000s was full of cringe comedy in which you watch it and you're like, ooh, can you believe someone would do that? But in actuality, a lot of that cringe comedy was just like mean and
bullying,
bullying, and you're like, this isn't fun. This is cringe comedy, as I've said multiple times at this point, in which you're like, oh no. No.
It's watching the car crash, but it's on purpose.
If I was not the person I am today, I could easily fall into the trap that all of these lads have fallen into of their interpretation of masculinity and how to contort yourself in the world where you've reached like, there's nothing more real than when they're in the parking lot And he goes, dude, go talk to that girl. And he's
Oh
like,
my
oh, you
God.
really think I should? And then he goes over and he's like, hey, what's up? And she's like, dude, I'm like skating. Isn't that crazy? And he's like, dude, that's crazy. And then they have like 2 seconds conversation. He's like, I'm gonna live with that for the rest of my life. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no.
It's a very real comedy, but
Yeah.
it executes on its premise of being bad on purpose.
When people talk about cinema verite and they talk about Anora, I say no. When people talk about cinema verite and they talk about Rap World, I'm like, yes. Yes,
That's
maestro.
me.
Correct.
I am you. You are me. We were one and the same. Yeah, that was your pick of the year. And last but not least, we've got Bichu. What was your pick?
Ooh, now I don't mean to brag, guys, but out of the three of us, it seems like my pick had the highest average between the three of us.
I
So,
do
you
think
know,
I might have to give
clearly
it to you.
Clearly, it's the best movie.
Yeah, but
also,
it made me the most mad for making you watch
some background though. I watched. I had like really wasn't like that movie was not in my like spotlight at all. It was just like, all right, what other movie can we watch? And I watched the movie I watched before that was Look Back, which is an animated movie that Fuji
Oh yeah.
wrote, which is also really sad. So,
Uh-oh.
so I double deckered myself with two sad movies unintentionally. But I feel like I should have known. I was kind of getting a little bit tired, but I was just let's watch another movie. But yeah, that movie was sad, and then I was like, well, I'm a little bit sad now, but let's watch this movie. And then I was like, oh, I mean, I wasn't like that. I was more like, like that. And, like,
Oh
crying.
no!
I got the tissues here, and I was watching with Yashim, and Yashim was like, during the fucking third act in the movie, he's like, "You're fucking crying, aren't you, bitch?" And I'm like, I just didn't respond. But yeah, that movie really stole the spot from I Saw the TV Glow. It came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, honorable mention to I Saw the TV Glow. Very good.
Honorable mention. That
Very
Yeah.
good movie.
was my favorite movie until that fucking movie stole the spotlight from right on there, and out of nowhere from fucking with the chair too.
With the steel chair.
I was just like scrolling through Letterboxd and the Shrafella Productions added that to his watch list, and I was like, the name of this movie sounds pretty wacky. I'll add it to my watch list, and then I just picked on that night, just picked it to watch it, and it fucking stole the show. I think it's one.
And the name of that movie, Albert Einstein.
How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies.
There we go.
I think the Thai translation though was Grandma's Son, something like that. It's just like 2 words.
Which seems to be more fitting, honestly. That like I get what the this translation means as well, but like Grandma's Son is like also pretty straightforward.
Grandma's Son is much more literal. I kind of do. I mean, I think they're both serviceable titles, but I do, especially how it ties into the overall themes of the film. I kind of think How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies is like a banger title for the year.
It is absolutely a banger title because that's one of the reasons why I watched that title. It's like, oh wow, this guy sounds like a piece of shit. What's going on here? And I think the movie is great.
And he is a piece of shit.
To pull,
it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, to pull another, I think you should leave. I used to be a piece of shit. All right. This baby doesn't think people can change, but I used to be a piece of shit.
He kind of does have slick back hair. You know?
This movie has a lot that I really like. I think not even like I'm not touching the plot for a second. I think the score is very good.
It's very good.
Some of the shots that the director does, I also just fucking the transitions too. I'll tell you the first point I started breaking down. Oh god, turn it up a little bit. The first point I started breaking down was like when it pans to he runs back to the subway. The path that him and his grandma like you always used to walk when she would make his deposit to the bank, and it pans back to the childhood scene of like him.
Yeah,
that the bank account was for him. I was like, fuck,
oh
man.
yeah, no, that was. I didn't cry during this, but that was definitely like getting me close to the edge. Like I was like,
that shit was fucked me up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like transitions like that. The score is good, and then we touch upon like the story it's telling. It's really good, about like family. There's a commentary on gender roles and stuff like that.
Yeah, it covers a lot.
Fucked me up. Where I was like, not in like, look, Rap World and How to Make Millions Before Grandma Died, very different movies. But that was another like experience of the year where I was like, the filmmaker did a good job. This is one of the most real feeling interactions like I get it. Like
Yeah.
you're like, this is you feel awful, non-derogatory on so many levels when you get to the brother's house and you're like,
Oh yeah.
oh, this is of course why I think this was going to end like th- this was fucked from the beginning.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
did I ever think about like because it spends so much time making you think about the relationship between certain individuals in the movie. It obfuscates what it wants to do with all of that down the line by distracting you with some very basic level like connections. And then when it reveals its hand, that's what like this movie is so good at holding its cards until it's the exact right moment to like play them. And you're
Yeah.
like, fuck, it's kind of undeniable.
I really just loved watching. I can't remember the main character's name.
M.
M.
Yes, I just really love watching him grow and kind of like
Yeah.
lose the attitude of like greed,
Yeah.
lose his
Yeah.
greed in exchange of like understanding, his role in the family and like what he wants to do with family. And honestly, like, just so many good scenes in this movie that like fucking drive me up the rocker. But another good scene is like, it's kind of early in the film. It's like where the cousin and M were talking about like, how's this work, man? They're so rich, and I don't get it. How do you do it? It's because, well, duh, idiot, time. They want your time, and it's
Yeah.
just like that's just
They
a
spell
great
it out
setup.
so early, and then
They
but it still
spell it out
takes.
so fucking early, and
Yeah.
and it still got me. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
all about time, dude. It's about
It's all
time.
about time. It's all we got.
Call your grandma. There's so
Yeah.
many good scenes. It's just like another scene. I think one scene that's like veiled very well. That also like Jacob said is awful to watch, but non-derogatory. Is like when they're on the line for like transportation. You know, the grandma's just came back from chemo, all bald, and like it's revealed what the inheritance is going to.
Yeah.
And M
Right.
reveals like, well, why'd you pick your son
You're
and not me? Why am I not your number one? It's so perfectly veiled because M is not wanting to reveal how he truly feels about like um his this newfound affection for his grandma. It's like
Yeah.
he doesn't like truly
Yeah. He doesn't
believe
want to
that.
admit it to himself
He's
almost.
not fully in it for him. He's like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted the money still, but it's clearly veiled. He's clearly
Yeah.
hiding from. I mean, he still makes his grandma cry because he just he's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
not.
Because it's a fucking
Yeah, when you do
brutal
that,
thing to do.
it's fucked up.
It's still fucked up, but like I thought that was such another good scene, you know.
Yeah, no, and it's like and it's so rough because it is again so real in like how this journey it takes him the whole rest of his grandma's life for him to truly connect with it. And
Yeah.
then like once he realizes that the bank account was for him that she's making deposits for,
It's
and then he turns it he's like, okay, well now I'm turning it around and I'm going to give her the plot that she wanted. And when they're taking the ride out and he's knocking and he's just like,
that's when I cried.
and that was definitely the closest that I got. It was just like it clicks for him and then he starts crying. It's just like, fuck, dude. The journey's complete and like
the car ride I think is like a perfect encapsulation of what works in this film, which is specifically how it's directed, is that he spends or the director spends such a good time focusing in on the reactions of everyone in the car ride, and the only one who is happy is M.
yeah.
Not in a way that's like I'm happy my grandma died, which is like which could
Yeah.
easily be the original intent of why I'd be happy. Which once again, that's why I think this movie works. But it's literally he's the only one who dedicated the time to get any resolution with his grandma.
Yeah, he
And his mom
he
is
got
the second
closure
closest,
and she's
but, like,
sobbing.
yeah, and
He's
she's still messed up, but like he's the one who is like, oh, I'm kind of like it's not that he's not sad, like he still ends up crying, but he's the only one who can feel at peace because he's the only one who like kind of figured his shit out.
before
the
she
uncle
passed away.
terrible.
Yeah.
Uncle, terrible guy. Holy shit! But like that's the thing with the
Both the
general.
uncles are the worst. Like they're once again, everyone is awful in a way that feels believable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're
Oh,
not
yeah,
bad in a way that is like I can't like
Yeah,
it
he's in the
never
ringer.
goes
Beach is in the ringer.
over into parody, it always lives in this realm of like, oh yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah,
nobody is comically evil. Like
Yeah.
these are all characters that you could see in real life, and honestly, I probably might have seen them in my real life, and I may not want to bring up, but I think there's just again, there's so many good small details too. Like another small detail you guys might have missed. Yeah, someone wrote this in a Letterboxd review, but one of the scenes, the grandma's like, "If you don't spread my fucking flowers, I'm gonna come back to haunt
yeah,
you."
I do remember that.
And then he like hesitates to spread the flowers for a bit, and I'm just like, because he wants the grandma to come
Oh,
back to haunt, and I'm like, yeah.
oh, dude.
Thanks.
I mean, that's one
Fuck.
of the scenes that fucked me up and really crystallized. Like, oh, this we're about to enter into the third act, and it's about to work. Which is M goes to see his cousin, and they're talking about like the scheme basically because she's setting up basically another one.
Yeah, another one.
And they're talking about it, and they're talking about the grandfather character who died at the start of the film,
Yeah.
whose name I can't remember, and they're like talking about the whole setup, and then she's just like, I'm just like, he doesn't fucking visit me, that piece of shit. Where like even her, who is more quote unquote bought into this scheme than
Yeah, just
M
being in it for
is
the money.
she cannot deny that by spending time with, like, it wasn't, the excuse was, I'm doing this for greed, but in doing so you're like, fuck, I developed an
Yeah,
emotional connection with this other human being, and now I
Yeah.
have to carry that with me for the rest of my life.
Fuck. We're social creatures. We develop connections with people we spend time with. Fuck. And then when those people leave your life, you become fucking depressed because your children have left the home, and like that was a whole other thing. Like the fucking mom being like, "Oh, I understand my mom now, like because now you're not in the house very often, and it makes me sad." It's just like, fuck.
It's always
Yeah.
social. What I really like, and this kind of goes back to, I guess, that scene I just talked about, is like the movie does such a smart job that so many movies mess up by never rewarding him explicitly for what he did, because the bank account was always like that's what got that. That's how that's why it worked so well emotionally, is because it all of the entire movie ostensibly does not matter. That bank account always existed.
Yeah.
That bank account was always going to exist.
And it was always
She
for
said,
him. That was locked in.
The movie admits, we're going to the bank. I'm putting money into this bank account for you.
And he forgot.
He just forgot. And that was set up earlier. He forgot so many things when he was a kid.
Yes.
Like, and so it's just like, oh my god, he forgot this. Like,
and it pays off so well, in which him becoming a good person is not what is rewarded, but it is almost like cosmically, hey, guess what? Your grandma loved you.
Yeah.
And also, you love your grandma.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how that happened?
Even though she's gone, you have that love in you for the rest of your life, and like you can now carry that into relationships with the rest of your family, potentially with your mom or whoever, or the niece that he has. Like he was showing her how to spread the ashes and everything.
Yeah. Exactly. At the end of the movie, it's about what the movie's about, and not about like the reward. And the reward is just there so that I can get upset and sad by the fact that it was going to work out no matter what. Where it's like, cool, everyone gets to be happy. And also we still learn the lesson that this movie is trying to get across without cheaping it with some like sort of reward incentive. It is just about
this director, first movie. This is his first movie, by the way.
Whoa!
I mean, that's a very. Has he worked on?
He's worked on TV shows, but this was his first movie.
I see. He did. Oh, he did the series for Bad Genius, which Bad Genius is another movie from Thailand. That
I like I heard the movie's better, which is fine. So I never got.
I wasn't gonna. I never watched the series. I only watched the movie.
The movie's great though. I like
Yeah.
a good heist movie.
Movie is
I love a
great.
good-
I think I would. I'm personally gonna give it to you. I think this one does top Furiosa for me, having seen it
Fuck, what can
now.
I say? Oh, he said
But
he admitted. He
I
admitted.
yeah, I'll say it. You got
Listen,
me.
the Asian people, they know what they're doing. No
Look
problem.
at Everything Everywhere All at Once. Still my #1 movie of all time. Like
It's a good movie. Guess what? The Asians just know how to cook.
they know how to cook.
Chinese food. You've had some.
it
I
cooks.
mean, yeah. My fast food order, my order for lunch isn't ready, so I'm gonna wrap up my closing thoughts and then I gotta skedaddle.
Yeah, we'll probably
But
wrap up
I
here.
think I don't know. It's just really good to see. Not to bash on Turning Red again, because I'm gonna bash on Turning Red again. But this movie fucking just shows
Succeeds
generational
where-
trauma and Chinese culture. I wouldn't say Chinese, Asian culture.
Yeah, I was
Asian
about to say
culture-
they're not in China.
well, they
They are
spoke,
not Chinese.
one of the translations is for one of the lines was when they were talking about, do you speak Chinese? I thought that was weird. I don't know if that was a mistranslation. I think there's probably a certain dialect of Thai that branches off Chinese.
But there could also
Ah.
just be like some Chinese phrases
Yeah,
that is used colloquially. I don't know this, but that's the
Yeah.
only thing I could think of is that there's some sort of like
Yeah, but
cultural osmosis.
not a here there.
Yeah.
But, I just love the way this film was able to tell the story of what it needed to tell, and also a message. And I'm very consistent with my reviews on Letterboxd. My 10s are 10s are the movies that make me go or
Yeah.
cry. And
Yeah.
this was a movie
Crying
fucking
is
sob.
definitely a pretty good candidate for making it to a 5-star for
I
me
did,
as well.
did not stop sobbing. Did not.
Ah.
Once we got to the third act, it was blow after blow of fucking me crying and crying, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think if I can add one more thing, what I think this movie really succeeds at, and I was kind of hinting at it earlier, is that it uses very familiar narrative and film language in order to explore what it like to offer a baseline everyone can buy into and use that setup in order to then go on and explore its more nuanced emotional takes within that meta structure. Like, I don't think this is doing anything that is crazy outside of like a hustle movie, for the lack of a better term, where it's like at the start the guy wants to steal some money, he gets too emotionally involved, and then he forms a real relationship with the person he's trying to hustle. But in doing that, what it is exploring is kind of what you were getting at, Bichu, is familial trauma,
Yeah.
family
Gender
members
roles.
being shitty, what it really means to have a connection with someone, specifically within a familial sense.
Yeah.
Rather than just
Just as a monetary transactional kind of relationship.
not to keep making connections to Rap World, but in the same way, Rap World has a lot of stuff about like the societal expectations that
Yeah.
these people are placing upon themselves. A lot of the conflict in How to Make a Million is about this person is not adhering to the social contract of dying. And that's where a lot of the conflict comes in, is like it's a bunch of people doing a song and dance about something that they know is going to happen, but no one is really willing to break from the social norms already established in order to actually get to the emotional heart of what's going on in the situation. Except for what M eventually does is he takes the time
Yeah.
to figure
Takes
that
the
shit out.
fucking time. It's about time. Call your grandma if you
That's
still
what they
got
want.
them.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go.
All right.
See ya.
Well, that's movie of the year, folks. Thank you for joining us.
Can I
lovely
do
discussion.
shout outs?
Yeah. If you got some honorable mentions, I already
Let's
did.
go. Okay. We could not cover all of the greatest movies of the year. It's impossible
No.
to do so on such
Rapid fire. What you got?
short time for us together. But I would like to shout out a couple of bangers of the year that just weren't going to be at the top, but I still think people should go out. This is mainly me being like, hey, there are a lot of movies out there that people didn't watch because they're not the big names, and people should go out and watch them.
Yeah.
First off, I kind of think Beetlejuice slaps.
That's interesting.
That's my take.
We don't have
I
time to
had
get into it, but that is
crazy
very
experience
interesting.
with it.
Uh-huh.
I think we already talked about I saw the TV Glow, so I'm going to talk about a different horror movie. I really liked Cuckoo. I know not everyone likes Cuckoo, but I think Cuckoo is sort of a great exploration, similar to A Real Pain, about sibling dynamics and expectations. That one is just sort of more about like it has more to do with like womanhood as well within it. While Real Pain is much more masculine, just because Cuckoo is basically about sisters, and A Real Pain is about brothers, and so that's kind of intrinsic to some of the narrative structures of those movies. But both are amazing. Who could forget Challengers? Bless up.
Challengers. I still
love
need to
my
watch that.
Juror number 2. Hey,
Hmm.
Clint, you still got it. That movie, I only rated it a 7 out of 10. I should go back and watch it again because I think what you're working with in that a movie about guilt is one of the most interesting and moving and philosophical films of the year. It fucking rules. Finally, I'm gonna only do 2 more. First up, I'm gonna shout out another a historical director, M. Night. Keep up the good work. I sat in trap and I licked my lips and I said, good. Keep doing it, brother.
Oh
And
my god.
finally, Holly Meyer Shire's Goodrich. If there's one movie that is light that I think everyone should go and watch, fucking watch Goodrich, people. Give it your support because these types of movies don't get made anymore. And half of my fucking review for this movie was me being mad about how no one fucking showed up for Goodrich. And when people go, how come we get the same movies every year? I go, motherfucker, they making the other movies. You just didn't go to the theater to go see it. Goodrich is a great exploration as well about some of the not the exact same thing and not to the same quality as How to Make Millions, but an exploration about family dynamics. It's literally about like fatherhood and sort of how the expectations around fatherhood sort of isolate fathers from the actual reality going around them, and it's about growing old. It's literally a coming of age movie, but the coming of age is I'm a 60-year-old man who really should probably figure his shit out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and not in a way that's like, oh, he needs to grow up. It's more like he didn't have to ever have an emotional conversation with anyone around him. That was not expected of him. And only now that he's forced to confront it, does he go, oh, I was like negligent.
Oops.
I wasn't necessarily a bad father, but I wasn't I wasn't as good as someone in my position as
Could or should be.
a parent
Yeah.
should have been, and now I sort of have to make up for that. And I think it's really sweet. It has so much heart. Holly Meyer Shire has made 2 movies about her parents, and it's very funny, and I love that she has done that, and I think she's a great creative force. I really love Goodrich, and it's the one I spend the last bit of my cachet to be like, please. There used to be so many light comedies like this, and I want more of them.
People need to start seeing them again so they'll get made.
Yeah, and it's like parts of the movie should not work, and I'm just swept away in like the charm of it all. There's an entire
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Let people watch it. Just let people
watch it. But I will like the example I have is there's like a precocious child in it. A child who's like, actually, Dad, like who's a little like you're like
a little shit.
Doesn't really talk like that. But like it's done so endearingly that I'm like, man, I miss this.
Yeah.
It's not done in a way that is like annoying, like Book of Henry, where they're like. I had to get one more in.
I know.
Like,
it's more like a.
This is more like a.
It's like a John Hughes kind of like writing children.
Yeah, like you're like, look, Kevin McAllister is a little shit, but he's a little cute. He's
a little cutie. He's great. Yeah. All right, I got it. Movies are pretty great. Too. Yeah, I would give honorable mentions of my own from last year, but we already talked about I saw the TV Glow, and honestly, I didn't watch much else that came out last year. I literally just looked through my Letterboxd reviews, and I see Deadpool and Wolverine, which we don't have time to get into, but I don't know if I'd really recommend that. I enjoyed it, but like
That
it's
movie
kind
was
of here or there.
ass.
Yeah. And the other thing I had from this year, which I did not remember came out this past year, was fucking Godzilla X Kong. Which is
Oh,
not a
okay,
movie
sorry,
I'd
I was looking at
recommend.
My Letterbox. That movie did come out this year. That
Yeah,
movie was wild.
that was insane. You want to see fucking dumb as fuck CG bullshit? That's your movie. There you go.
Sorry,
Anyways,
we talked about Madam Web earlier. I forgot
oh yeah,
that
Madam
Madam
Web
Web came
also
out
came out.
this year.
Oh fuck, I did also watch that this year. Yeah, there
That's
were 3 Sonyverse movies this year. We were spoiled for choices on which terrible Sonyverse movie we were going to talk about. I had to pick Venom, but like we could have beat any of them. And I think I still might find some cursed way to watch Craven at some point because I gotta
it's
give it
still
to
in
you.
theater. There's one showing every day, and every day I wake up and I'm like, is this the day?
This
Do
is
I
the day I
go?
break. Yeah. But yeah, movies. There's gonna be more of them this year, and we'll be talking about them about the same time next
Look,
year.
if I can go out and watch Harold and the Purple Crayon, Borderlands, and The Crow, you can go out and find some good movies to watch, motherfuckers.
You can watch some better movies than those, please, dear
Oh my
God.
God, Argyle was this year, bro. We gotta get out of here.
We gotta get out of here. Spend your time wisely. All right, watch some good movies. Watch bad movies too.
Watch bad
But-
movies too. I don't
yeah.
want to say don't watch bad movies.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying is go down to your local Cineplex, buy yourself a little bit of a soda.
Watch movies that you want to watch and that people tell you to watch, and live life. Take your time. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and